Recall that famous conversation I had with ex-President Pervez Musharraf in Pakistan. This is what we brought into his attention. We said, Excellency, we have reports which suggest, and we are very confident of our information, that bin Laden is not in tribal areas. He's not hiding in the mountains. He's not walking every day to dig another cave or find a sanctuary in the wild tribal areas of Pakistan. We, based on circumstantial evidence and some hard evidence, we believe he is in Mansehra. I didn't pronounce the word Abbottabad, but Abbottabad and Mansehra are about 12 miles away from each other. They are not far away from each other. And he got very emotional, and he said, Pakistan is not a banana republic, and I do not buy intelligence from lowly Afghan intelligence, etc., etc. But we were proven right. Years later, bin Laden was found in Abbottabad. Before coming to Doha 2 days ago, I spoke to an ex-case officer who for years has been watching Abbottabad and Mansehra. He's out of his job. And bin Laden's compound was not the only Al-Qaeda compound in Abbottabad. There are other Taliban and Al-Qaeda compounds there. Post that famous operation, probably Al-Qaeda compounds have closed down, but this officer has been telling me that until a few months ago, famous Taliban leaders still resided either in Abbottabad or near Abbottabad. Now, what we as Afghans propose to the Pakistani government is this. We say, because you have been giving refuge and assistance to Afghans during the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan, and because millions of Afghans talk to millions of Pakistanis every day, thousands of Afghans go to thousands of Pakistani doctors every day, people-to-people relationship between our two countries is excellent. What you need to do is stop recognizing the defunct emirate of Mullah Omar and recognize Kabul as the legitimate state of Afghanistan. If you stop dealing with non-state actors, if you stop dealing with groups that you wish to come and dominate politics of Afghanistan, you can influence Afghanistan legitimately. You can overcome those concerns and anxieties that you have, believing and thinking that Afghanistan may be used against Pakistan. There is a soft way, there is a civilized way of discussing those issues with us. So the Pakistan policy has been, they sort of slap the Afghans 10 times and then they say, we are friends. That has not worked in the past 2 decades at least. They have bombed our graveyards, they have bombed our hotels, they have assassinated our political leaders, they have bombed our national days, they have tried to assassinate our president, they have done all sorts of things, but then they say we are victims of terrorism. It is very difficult for Afghans to believe they are victims of terrorism while we understand and they admit that they are with the Taliban. Now, every time I am asked if we have a smoking gun as a hard evidence in our hand to show they are with the Taliban, with all due respect to the host country, supposedly there is a Taliban office here. Where are they come from? They fly either from Islamabad or Karachi. When they come to Doha, they come from Karachi, Islamabad, or Lahore. And when they go back for consultation with their leaders, they go from Doha to Karachi or Islamabad. So Pakistan serves as the headquarters of the Taliban. That shows the level of the tolerance of the Pakistani establishment for not only Taliban, but extremist groups as a whole in that region. So for as long as it is a state policy in Pakistan to use these groups for promotion of its agenda, not in Afghanistan only, but in other countries, that part of the world will remain unstable for a long time. Well, that said, what hurts us is West is now sitting on mountains and mountains of intelligence, knowing Islamabad is guilty of supporting these groups and has massive tolerance for their existence. But yet there is no tough action against the establishment and the military infrastructure in Pakistan. That has created a conspiracy theory in Afghanistan, and that we ask ourselves a simple question: why the West is financing both sides of the conflict? They are giving billions of dollars for Pakistan army to, quote unquote, give them the counterinsurgency capabilities, and part of that money then leaks into the hands of the Taliban. In the meantime, they are helping the Afghan government to keep the Taliban at bay, who are financed by Rawalpindi. That conspiracy theory again has created a notion that perhaps there is a hidden wider agenda in which we are not a player and we are not taken into confidence. When it comes to the role of Iran in my country, it has evolved into 3 stages. Immediately post 9/11, the Iranians thought that a gesture towards America by cooperating on the issue of terrorism, quote unquote, influencing the Northern Alliance to be more cooperative and also sharing intelligence with America, may serve as a strategic opening for the interest of Iran. At that time, the president of Iran was Khatami, and his slogan was participation. Participate in dialogue, participate in rebuilding of Afghanistan, participate in dismantling of the Sunni extremist terror groups in the region. And they were hoping that by providing and extending this cooperation, they will be able to get concessions from the United States on other issues. They stopped this attitude or this phase of cooperation end of 2003 because United States did not welcome it. And United States did not give a high value to the Iranian cooperation. And now there is a lot of material emerging, stories from United States, books written from other corners and revealing what was a few years ago secret and hidden. Now it is available, and you can also find it in open sources. Then came the second phase with election of President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. He believed that benign and soft policies of Khatami were counterproductive. Not only the United States did not give any value to the Iranian cooperation, it did not lead to a strategic opening in the relationship between the two countries. So let us have a tough stand both in Afghanistan and in the region and stop any type of cooperation. So let us say since 2005, the Iranians re-established links with all sorts of groups inside Afghanistan. But the Iranian policy in Afghanistan has been mainly standing on 3 pillars. Pillar 1, maintain close, good, and friendly relationship with Kabul. And this has been admitted and acknowledged by President Karzai, and they have helped the state of Afghanistan in various ways. As I joked earlier with my friend, Mr. Rydell, they have given money on the table, under the table, so that's no longer a secret. Pillar 2 of their strategy has been to maintain a balance by having relationship with democratic opposition, expanding the cultural influence of Iran, financing what they call value-based media outlets in Afghanistan, and also deepening the historical ties, not necessarily through state channels, but through non-state channels. That sometimes, depending to which section of Afghan society you talk to, some consider it positive, some consider it narrative. We are not united on how to define the influence of Iran in Afghanistan. And the third pillar of the Iranian policy has been, okay, there is this notion that Iran is under siege because of the US presence in the region. Iranians say, well, these troops being so close to us means they gave us the ability to strike at targets of our choice if Iran comes under attack. So therefore, maintaining links with proxy groups with capability of striking at US interest in the region is part of the Iranian strategy, which means basically that old saying of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Now, that is how Iran is in Afghanistan today. But for pushing the Taliban to negotiate with the Afghan state, the Iranian influence on Taliban is not deep. It is an opportunistic relationship. But for pushing the Taliban to negotiate with the Afghan state is through Islamabad, through Rawalpindi. But on the role of the ISI, when we talk about the ISI, we specifically talk about 3 departments of ISI who are involved in Afghanistan, and their involvement goes back to the very early days of the creation of Pakistan as a state. But these 3 departments of ISI were massively assisted back in the 80s by the NATO bloc to defeat Soviet forces in Afghanistan. And these 3 divisions are Directorate S, which specifically is designed for Afghanistan when it comes to sabotage, manipulation, financing, etc., etc. Then we have the SSG, the Special Services Group. This is part of the army. These are special units. They were created back in the 50s with the help of the United States to be prepared for countering communist insurgency in Pakistan. But since their creation, they have been more involved with Afghan adventure until today. And some of the units from the SSG were fighting alongside the Taliban in northern Afghanistan, and they were evacuated based on an understanding with the United States post 9/11. And there is what used to be, but is still functioning, Afghan Logistics Cell. Afghan Logistics Cell is a transport network functioning within Pakistan, handled by ISI. So when they transport stuff for the Taliban, and if these stuff are stopped by regular Pakistani police, it is the ISI liaison telling them to release these convoys. Why I went into details of outlining which sections of ISI handle Afghan situation, it's because sometimes in order to justify no action or soft action against Pakistan, they say, perhaps there are rogue elements. It's a big country and big organization, rogue elements. We are not talking about rogue elements. ISI is a very disciplined organization. Pakistan Army is a very disciplined organization. You have seen very few defections of the Army officers. You have seen very few defections of the ISI officers to other countries. So they remain very loyal to the system. And I totally agree with Mr. Hossein Haqqani that the country for many years is punching above its weight. They are hoping to dismember and dismantle big countries. They want to handle, while they are suffering from energy crisis, governance crisis, it is a country sinking into ethnic politics. But yet when it comes to the project of Afghanistan, they are as overconfident as they were in '88.